Hey guys, how's everyone doing today? And welcome back to our daily pre-cal videos. Today we're going to continue talking about sine and cosine functions, and we're going to look at frequencies within those sine and cosine functions. So, what is a frequency? So, what we define a frequency is for a sine and cosine function is the number of cycles the function completes in one unit interval. So that typically means a unit interval is something like 2 pi. So, for a general function, if let me get my blue pen. Where we at? There we are. So for a sine function, if it was to go, it would look something like this. Okay, so our frequency is going to be right here. At 2 pi, it's going to completed one cycle or something along those lines, and typically it's going to be measured in hertz. Okay, so like whenever you hear that term hertz, that's typically going to be used for a frequency. Now, we still go from our same equations we've been talking about for sine and cosine. Where y is equal to a times sine bx plus c plus d, and y is equal to a cosine bx plus c all plus d. We use these functions once again, but we're only looking at a certain term again. And for this one, it's actually a pretty simple term. Okay, so for frequency, it's actually going to be 1 over the period. Okay, so if you remember yesterday, a period was 2 pi over b. So frequency is 1 over that. So when we say 1 over the period, that can also be stated to be absolute value of b over 2 pi. Okay, so that is essentially going to be where we're using our calculations and how we kind of get some of these terms. So we still haven't defined c and d yet, and we'll get to those eventually. Okay, so what we typically do with this, we want to write functions with these sort of things. So we're gonna take and we're gonna solve this solve this equation. So it says write an equation for a sine function that has a frequency of 262 hertz and an amplitude of 1/5. So once again, we're gonna have to be using this general function. Okay, so we're gonna have to be using y is equal to a times sine bx. Now the reason I didn't include c or d is because we haven't defined those terms, so we don't know what they are. And if you can look inside our question, we don't have any random things. We have an amplitude and we have frequency, and we know both of those use the terms a and b. So there's nothing else that we can use. So this is going to be my general function for this one. So I need to find what a is and what b is. Okay, so that's what I need to solve for. Luckily for us, we kind of already know the first one. A is equal to amplitude. Okay, so we already have what A is. B is a little more difficult. B, we're going to have to use this equation right here. So we're going to have to set this equation up. So we have this equation that says frequency is equal to the absolute value of B over 2 pi. Well, let's plug in our knowns now. We know that frequency is equal to 262 hertz. So we're going to plug that in. 262 is equal to the absolute value of b over 2 pi. Okay, so I want to solve for b. So I'm going to need to get rid of this b pi. I got to get b by itself. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 pi. Okay, doing that, those will cancel, and we're going to be left with something that says, I'm going to rewrite absolute value of b is equal to, and multiply these terms together, and we get 524 pi. Now, to help you make these problems a little bit simpler, do not take pi and convert it. Do not put pi in your calculator because it'll convert it as well. Leave pi in terms of pi. It's a variable in this instance. Okay, we know what it equals, but we're going to leave it as its individual term to help us simplify this problem. We don't want to be working with decimals. We want to be working with clean numbers. So the rest of them we're going to leave it. It says b is equal to the absolute value of b is equal to 524 pi. Now, with that being said, we're not working with the absolute value of b. We want to know what b is. So since b, the absolute value of b can be any term, right? It can be any term positively or negatively. We're going to have to rewrite this right here. So with it being this, I can rewrite this to state that b is equal to plus or minus 524 pi. Okay, so that absolute value means I can be positive or negative. Okay, it doesn't matter which one, but or I guess not doesn't matter. We only want the positive version of that because we know it's going to repeat itself. It's going to fluctuate up and down, so it doesn't really matter whether it's positive or negative, but it's easier for us to just use the positive. So now that we know what B is, okay, because we can just say that B is equal to 524 pi, okay, and we say A is the amplitude, which is 1/5, or I'm going to put this in a decimal just to make this a little bit simpler for us, or just simply 0.2. Since I know what A and B are, I can write the equation, okay? I can plug those into this form. Y is equal to 0.2 sine 524 pi x. That is my final answer. Now, for some of you that would rather keep their terms and would rather not use decimals, okay, you can rewrite it with that same thing. So you can say y is equal to sine 524 pi x all divided by 5. That's just putting that 1/5 in there and saying it's divided by 5 instead of multiplying by 1/5. Those are the same concept. These are the same things. I would prefer it. I would like this way if you can do it that way. It's a little more cleaner to me. But with that being said, this is the simplest way to put it for you. Okay, so that's it. That's all frequency is. It's just like periods, just kind of flipping them. Okay, the inverse of it. I hope you all have a fantastic day. I know a lot of you are my seniors, guys, so I kind of feel for you this time. I know it's really difficult for you. Some of you out there have multiple jobs, and you're working your butts off right now to help provide for your family or just to get extra money on your side. And I understand, okay, that's a big thing. Just know I'm always here to help or anything. If you need help or anything like that, just let me know. Email me. I'm always available for y'all guys. Have a good day and peace.